border crisis. Republicans blast the Biden administration for allowing the problem to continue. Trip to the Vatican. The White House confirms President Joe Biden will meet with Pope Francis. Coronavirus pandemic, where America stands in the fight against the virus. And the cost of doing business, why shoppers are paying more. On EWTN News Nightly for Thursday, October 14th, 2021. Thank you so much for being with us tonight on this feast of St. Callistus I. I'm Tracy Sable. The White House confirms President Joe Biden will meet with Pope Francis at the Vatican later this month. The announcement comes just days after the Holy Father met with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, another Catholic politician who defies the preeminent teachings of the Church on protecting unborn children. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Tracy, good evening to you. In late October and early November, President Biden heads to Europe for the G20 and climate meetings. And today, the White House confirmed what we've been reporting all week, that the President and First Lady will soon visit the Vatican.
In just over 2 weeks, President Joe Biden and Pope Francis will meet face-to-face. And according to the White House, the President and Dr. Biden will discuss working together on efforts grounded in respect for fundamental human dignity, including ending the COVID-19 pandemic, tackling the climate crisis, and caring for the poor. President Biden, who has been described by his press secretary as a devout Catholic, routinely attends Mass. But whether he should receive Holy Communion has been hotly debated. The nation's second ever Catholic president says he not only supports abortion, but also is actively working to expand access. The Pope has called abortion murder and says it's like hiring a hitman. Meanwhile, on the COVID front, health experts are debating whether people who receive the Moderna vaccine need a booster shot. The president saying today,
I'm calling on more businesses to step up. I'm calling on more parents to get their children vaccinated when they are eligible. And I'm asking everyone who hasn't gotten vaccinated, please get vaccinated.
Also at the White House, President Biden welcomed the president of Kenya, hoping he can help end the war in neighboring Ethiopia, the Tigray region. But President Uhuru Kenyatta is under scrutiny after a report known as the Pandora Papers revealed he has millions of dollars secretly stashed away. He has denied any wrongdoing.
Now, after that Oval Office meeting, those pictures you saw there of the president meeting with Kenya's president, President Biden took no questions from reporters. And earlier, after that speech on the pandemic, again, took no questions from journalists who were shouting them out. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Well, inflation rose more than 8% in September compared to last year. That is the largest increase since the yearly numbers were first calculated in 2010. The jump reflects higher prices for food, energy, and other items, including furniture and cars. A surge in migration at the U.S.-Mexico border is causing major issues for federal authorities and local officials. Customs and Border Patrol agents say they don't have enough resources to keep up. Republican lawmakers are pointing fingers directly at the Biden administration. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales has more.
It was just this week the Biden administration announced that it's easing COVID-19 travel restrictions on border crossings from both Canada and Mexico. But Republicans up here on Capitol Hill say ever since President Biden took office, the southern border has never been closed.
The Biden administration has moved us in the wrong direction. Not only have they sent a message that our borders are open, they're actually taking sections of the Trump wall and deconstructing them. They're making the situation worse.
How bad is it? Custom and Border Protection documents show since March, at least 160,000 immigrants have been released into the United States by the Biden administration. Plus, since August 6th, almost 32,000 have been paroled, and almost 40,000 have been released on their own recognizance. Sources tell EWTN News Nightly agents have seen a surge of middle-class families migrating from South America. They fly to Mexico, take a cab to the U.S. border, and turn themselves in.
That seemed to be the guiding principle for the Biden administration, is whatever Trump did was bad, and so he wanted to undo it. The problem is you got to have your own plan in place.
Senator John Cornyn tells me children are often the victims.
About 20% of the children who are placed with sponsors in the United States are never heard from again. We don't know whether they're being trafficked or abused or recruited into gangs or what.
Republicans say President Biden needs to take a page from the former president's playbook.
This president has sent out a message that our borders are open and amnesty is on its way, so everyone should come. We got to go back and reinstitute President Trump's policies, and it would solve this whole problem.
Like the stay in Mexico policy and end the catch and release program. Both were discontinued on Biden's first day in office. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops opposes enforcement-only immigration policies and supports comprehensive immigration reform. The bishops would like to see the creation of an earned legalization program that would allow foreign nationals of good moral character working in the United States to become U.S. citizens. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
And joining us now for an update on national security is Lester Munson, Senior Fellow at the National Security Institute and Principal at International BGR Group. Lester, welcome back. Always good to be with you. As we just heard a lot of talk on Capitol Hill about border security. Let's talk more about that and how it relates to our national security.
Well, I think there's no doubt there's a link between the security of the border and U.S. national security. We've seen evidence, and it's not overwhelming evidence, but some evidence that people with malign intent for our country are using porous borders as a way to get in. I don't want to overstate that, but that is certainly an issue. And as a mature industrialized economy, the United States relies on imported labor in many instances, and we also need to have a secure border. So I think as a country, having a secured border, both for our national security and our economic purposes, is something that's absolutely a priority.
Yeah, and I want to talk right now about our military. As you know, the Pentagon has mandated all service members to get the COVID-19 vaccine, but is now accepting exemptions, including on religious grounds. That said, many have received the shot. We know that, but there are still hundreds of thousands who have not. Your thoughts on that and how that could impact the military's combat readiness and ultimately the security of the country?
Well, my view is that the military has required vaccines for the purpose of military readiness. We do not want to have a military force that is susceptible to the virus. So I think folks in the military, if they're ordered to get the vaccine, they should be following those orders. The vaccine is safe. It is certainly safer than not getting the vaccine. I don't have a ton of sympathy, unless it's on very strict religious grounds, for folks who are refusing to get vaccinated in the U.S. military. It's a volunteer force. We need to have those folks vaccinated. That's the best thing for the country. Having said that, vaccine mandates can be counterproductive, and I think it behooves our national leadership in both parties to take down the temperature on this issue and perhaps back away from some of these stricter mandates and approach these issues on more of a persuasion basis, trying to persuade people that getting the vaccine is the best thing for them. I certainly think that's true. I'm not a medical expert, but the medical experts I have seen believe that in almost every case, getting vaccinated is the smart thing for Americans to do. So I think it's a difficult issue. We do not want to see a bunch of people leaving our military. At the same time, it is better for our military force if folks are vaccinated.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult issue there for sure. As you know, the U.S. also held a cybersecurity summit yesterday with more than 30 countries, but Russia was notably not invited. How important is cybersecurity, and what threats are you particularly concerned about?
Cybersecurity is a huge issue. The United States is a big open country. We allow freedom for businesses, freedom of movement in this country. We do not have a top-down approach to the internet. So the way we do cyber defense is going to be different than other countries. China puts a big wall around its internet and doesn't let certain companies in. We're not going to do that. We're going to have an open system. So it behooves us to cooperate with other countries, yes, but we also need to send the message to malign actors in the world that if you attempt to defraud our people through cyber means, if you tend to undermine our national security or our economic security by using cyber methods, that you will pay a price for that. It is not enough just to have a big conference. We also need to have a policy of deterrence so that when bad actors attack the United States, they know there's going to be retribution.
Yeah, and you brought up China. I quickly want to talk about that before we wrap up. We've been tracking the tensions between China and Taiwan. Can you tell us where things stand and why this conflict is really having such a big impact impact on U.S.-China relations?
Well, of course, we've had this issue for decades. China has been turning up the heat on Taiwan recently. They've done this in the past. The most recent statements from President Xi Jinping of China are actually a little more moderated than they were a couple weeks ago. We're anticipating a virtual summit between President Biden and President Xi in the near future. I think it's a very good thing that both countries kind of take down the temperature over Taiwan. China is not really in a position to invade Taiwan right now. They might be in 4, 5, or 6 years to make a difference there. I'm not sure that's going to be the approach they want to take, but these threats, flying Chinese planes through Taiwanese airspace, which they've been doing recently, it's a very bad idea. It's not helpful. We do not want this to turn into a military conflagration.
Yeah, we'll be keeping our eyes on that for sure. Lester, thank you so much for your time. Lester Munson, Senior Fellow at the National Security Institute and Principal at International at BGR Group. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A deadly gunfire between Muslim and Christian militias erupted in the streets of Beirut today, killing at least 6 people and leaving dozens injured. Armored patrols were deployed to quell the firefight sparked by Hezbollah protests against the lead official probing last year's port explosion. During the clashes, Lebanon's president was meeting with the U.S. Under-Secretary of State. In a southwestern Taiwan, a devastating fire overnight engulfed a residential building in a highly populated port city. At least 46 were killed and another 40 were hurt. Many were poor, disabled, or elderly. Indonesia's resort island of Bali is reopening for international travel, however, with some coronavirus restrictions. Tourists are only allowed from selected countries. They must be vaccinated against COVID-19 or test negative. They must also follow a quarantine and other guidelines. Conditions in Bali have improved, but business dropped from more than 6 million visitors in 2019 to just 1 million last year. Coming up, report from Rome, what you should know about the issue of human trafficking. The Bishops' Conference in France tells the National Catholic Register that the seal of confession, according to church teaching, cannot be violated. France's government wants priests to conform with a mandatory reporting law in cases of sexual abuse. A spokesperson says sacramental integrity will not be discarded by reforms to protect children. A prominent Anglican bishop is entering the Catholic Church. Michael Nazir Ali was formerly Bishop of Rochester, England. He was the alternate candidate for Archbishop of Canterbury in 2002 when Rowan Williams received the appointment. Nazir Ali holds traditional views on marriage, family, and biomedical ethics. His Catholic priestly ordination is expected soon, joining a unique ministry for Anglican converts. The U.S. and Irish embassies to the Holy See co-hosted an event this morning aimed at fighting human trafficking. Our next guest was among those who spoke. She is a religious sister who has won several awards for her fight against human slavery. Among her honors was an MBE from Queen Elizabeth in 2018, the third highest ranking order of the British Empire. Joining us now from Rome is Sister Imelda Poole, president of the Religious in Europe Networking Against Trafficking and Exploitation. Sister Imelda, thank you so much for your time today. Can you tell us a little bit more about this morning's meeting?
Well, this morning's meeting was organized and presented by the U.S. Embassy at the Holy See of both United States of America and of Ireland in partnership. And they invited 3 of us who had received the Trafficking in Persons Hero Award in 2018-19 and myself in 2021, Sister Gabriella Batani, blessed, a Nigerian who had suffered as a victim and now a survivor of human trafficking, and who has set up her own NGO against human trafficking, and also Sister Monica Chikwi, who runs the Slaves No More NGO here in Rome and serves many victims and survivors of human trafficking and exploitation. A wonderful team of women who shared on the topic of bringing into the mission the next generation of young people as partners in the mission against human trafficking.
And Sister, before I let you go, can you tell us specifically maybe some of the things that you're working on right now to combat human trafficking?
Yes, I did. Yes. What are we working at now? Well, just recently, we've had in London, our European network has hosted a film festival against human trafficking. And we showed 9 films in 3 studios in the Royal Society of Arts in Piccadilly in London. And we also showed 3 of the main films from these 9 at the BAFTA Centre, also in Piccadilly. And alongside showing these films to all the folk that came along from all sorts of organisations and embassies and journalists and, from walks of life that were really wanting to come on board with us against this crime. Besides that, we had a competition because we desire very strongly to bring survivors and young people into the network. And we had 3 amazing films, and one of these we actually showed this morning, who was the winner of this competition and who received €2,000 for the award of winning. And his film was consequent to studying at the Warsaw Polish Film Academy. And he was asked to do a film on erotica. He's a Norwegian young man. And he chose not to do that, but to make a film against human trafficking, to express the horror of erotica and what it can do to enslave a young woman who, without her will, is being abused in this way. And so, in fact, he was given a distinction for this film by the school, even though he was confronted about his take on erotica, and they could see how he had twisted the title, but used it to great effect. And it was a very, very moving film.
Well, Sister, I wish we had more time to talk about this very important subject, but thank you for your time today. Thank you for all that you're doing. Sister Imelda Poole, President of the Religious in Europe, Networking Against Trafficking and Exploitation. God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you. Bye-bye now.
Up next, Dan Burke joins us with a tribute to St. Teresa of Avila to preview her feast day. And message from the Holy Father. An Olympic gold medalist receives a special blessing. Tonight on EWTN ProLife Weekly, the Attorney General of Kentucky discusses this week's Supreme Court oral arguments that will eventually determine if he can defend his state's pro-life law.
But I'm optimistic that if we win here, that we'll have an opportunity to go back to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, get that second bite at the apple, if you will, and continue defense of this ban on live dismemberment abortion.
Tanner Cameron says that he will continue to fight for the unborn and shares how his son's heartbeat makes his pro-life stance more personal and more meaningful. That is tonight on EWTN Pro-Life Weekly at 10 p.m. Eastern. Well, tomorrow we celebrate the feast of St. Teresa of Avila, a 16th century Spanish nun and mystic. Born into nobility, St. Teresa felt the pull of Christ and joined the Carmelite order. Her autobiography and works on spiritual growth have served as inspiration to the faithful for centuries. She was canonized in 1622 and named the first female doctor of the Church by Pope Paul VI. In 1970. And joining us now to talk more about this doctor of the church is Dan Burke, president of the Avila Institute and former president and COO of EWTN News. Dan, welcome back. So good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Tracy. It's been good catching up with the team a little bit here and there as well.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you on. Dan, can you talk to us more about St. Teresa of Avila and her life? She is particularly known for her step-by-step advice for spiritual growth.
Yeah, I mean, she is the preeminent, I think, spiritual doctor of the church. She's the one that brings us the deepest wisdom, her along with St. John of the Cross, regarding how it is that we can draw near to God and how it is that we can come to contemplative prayer. And so when the church asks the question, what is contemplative prayer? It asks Teresa of Avila, And so she plays a significant role in helping us understand this important pathway of maturing our relationship with God.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk to you about something, switching gears just a little bit here. The last time that you were on, you and your wife had just recovered from COVID-19. And as we know, St. Teresa of Avila was no stranger to her health struggles. I'm wondering, is there a way that she was able to help you get through your battle with COVID? And if so, in what ways?
That's a fascinating question. I mean, certainly she helped me into the church. So maybe because she helped me into the church, I ended up having thousands of people all over the world, maybe tens of thousands, praying for me when I got sick. So I suppose I owe her gratitude for that.
Absolutely. And Dan, how are you feeling right now? How are you and your wife doing health-wise?
Oh, fantastic. I'm actually healthier than when before I got COVID, during COVID, and after. I'm doing very well and very much blessed and appreciate God's grace for me to recover and, of course, to be even healthier than when I got sick.
Oh, so wonderful to hear. I'm wondering, for those who may not be familiar, can you talk to us more about the Avila Institute and also the new retreat center that you're opening, and also how you hope, to share her spirituality with others?
Yeah, so the Avila Institute provides spiritual, theological formation for priests, religious laity now in about 70 countries, 70, 80 countries. And we do priestly formation for 36 dioceses. We have 100 guys in our program preparing them for seminary. So we do formation all over the world, and the retreat center is really was birthed out of the need for a home base for our community of Apostoli Viae and the Avila Institute. And so we're blessed by an incredibly beautiful campus with the 16-acre lake and 10,000 square foot retreat center. So it's all a work in progress right now, but we hope to be open to the public sometime soon.
That sounds incredible. Before we let you go, I want to talk about this. I know you have a new book coming out early next year called The Devil in the Castle, which will be published by Sophia Institute Press. Dan, can you talk to us more about that and what inspired you to write it?
Well, part of my own spirituality in our community of Apostoli Viae is really drawn toward spiritual liberation through the wisdom of the church and setting people free from demonic oppression, that sort of thing. So I have never read a treatment or aware of one in the history of the church on St. Teresa of Avila's perspective on how we grow spiritually in the interior life and what are the demonic or spiritual warfare battles at each stage of our growth. And so since there wasn't one out there and I wanted to study it, I also decided to go ahead and write a book about it. So it's a perspective on the path of spiritual maturation and the different phases of spiritual growth and how the enemy seeks to thwart our progress in deeper union with God.
Oh, we are looking forward to that. And if people want more information, how can they get that?
Spiritualdirection.com is the easiest website to learn about. It's a great doorway into everything we do. Spiritualdirection.com has thousands of articles on the interior life and our blog and our radio show that's on EWTN as well. So we'd love to have people join us out there.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time today. It was great speaking with you, and God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you for all your good work. Take care.
And finally tonight, the Summer Olympics ended in August, but for one gold medalist, the honors continue to pour in. At a mass yesterday in his native Ecuador, cyclist Richard Carapaz was given a document containing a blessing from the Holy Father. Carapaz won the gold medal in the cycling road race in Tokyo. He also finished third in the Tour de France. In the document, Pope Francis asked for an abundance of grace to be bestowed upon the cyclist. And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.